So guys, this is Ronin Code episode 7. Yes, 7, my lucky number. And I'm joined by two fantastic entrepreneurs here. Both work in various different arenas. And we're kind of going to talk about what it takes to separate yourself as far as curating experiences and making lasting impressions. And also kind of the why, the intrinsic motivations as to what we do. So if you want to start off, Zach, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us what you do.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me on here, Brandon. This is great. And my name is Dr. Zachery Cohen. I own a practice called Cohen Health Performance, where really our mission is just helping injured, active people just regain that confidence that they lose from pain and injury and those sorts of things. We are a physical therapy practice by nature, but it's that transformation that we try to facilitate.
Nice. Dev, why don't you go ahead and let people know who you are, what you're up to.
Hey, I'm Devin Kennedy. I guess the best way to compose what I do, I'm a beverage consultant or beverage professional. Anything with doing with alcohol, I have like some type of hand in it, whether it's wine or spirits. I have different avenues with that I've been able to create some entrepreneurial opportunities. One from creating a wine brand, and the other is to consulting directly to spirits brands for experiential marketing ideas and activations and things like that.
Nice. So actually, I know our order is a little different, but I want to kind of piggyback directly off of what you just said, Devin, in terms of the different avenues that you have to kind of express that creative talent and entrepreneurial spirit. Now, talk to us kind of about what led you into the path from curated cocktail professional to now beverage consultant to now owner of a wine brand.
I was always kind of just like how I even got into the hospitality industry. This is because I just always had like a curious mind. At first, it started off me just working there. I started in high school and just like, oh, this seems like a cool way to get some money. And I just kind of fell in love with how really working in hospitality is all about problem solving. Every day there's a new problem to solve, right? And every day there's no 2 days alike. Whether you're a busser or server or bartender, there's going to be something that like a wrench thrown. You just got to figure it out. And essentially, once you get to the further levels, I started learning more about wine, started learning more about spirits and cocktails. And I was like, oh, how can I use this instead of just having a job? Like, how can I take this further? And the first thing was starting the consulting company. And brands a lot of times they have a lot of money to spend for marketing, for events and stuff. And something you probably know as far as nightlife, and everyone wants to do sponsorships and stuff like that. But like, how do you get those sponsorships, and why do brands want to work with you? Like, what benefit are you bringing them? So once I learned that, like, what are they looking for? Like, oh, they're looking for engagement. They're looking for new consumers. They're looking for a fun way to present their brands. They're looking for like, oh, can you make our brand look super cool, sexy, high end? So thinking outside the box and using the skills that I've learned from cocktails and things like that. Like, okay, I can, create this cocktail program for you. I can create this party event for you to make your brand look like this, blah, blah, blah. And, the more ideas you have, it's just, you can keep kind of going from there. So that's how I kind of got into it. I got a couple of contracts, and then it kind of went from there.
Nice. I actually want to piggyback off of that and shift over to you, Zach, kind of asking the same question. One of the things you discussed was the problem solving aspect. And, the reason I do the show is because I realize how many themes and ideologies cross different arenas that we aren't always aware of, but it's the same mental tools and mindset that we use. Zach, you and I work with people, and as you know, there is no greater wrench being thrown than the person the day they walk through the door, because every day something new does happen, like Devin was talking about. Talk about that in relation to how it got you to where you're at and starting your practice.
Yeah, so this is a great example of having to basically be able to adjust and adapt, right? I mean, 2020 has been crazy with COVID and everything like that. So you do have to adjust on the fly. I mean, I'm just interviewing from at home, and you can probably hear my dog in the background barking at somebody walking by. But I think when Brandon, for you and myself, when we work with people, you have to always be able to adjust because we're dealing with some of the most complex structures on the planet. I mean, we have, when a human being comes in, you have no idea what they've done since the last time you've seen them. And the body will subsequently adapt to whatever that is. Whether I'm trying to help somebody with pain or an injury, you're trying to help somebody reach their fitness goals. No matter what, something has happened that has changed what went on since the last time you saw this person. You have to be able to sort of adapt and be able to sort of roll with it and think quickly and think in a smart sort of concise way on how you're going to best help this person achieve their goals. So yeah, I think it's a great question, and it's always the exciting part, I think, about what we do, and the challenge is awesome.
Nice. So, as you were both saying, it's about experience and trying to further something that you saw as maybe a problem or an area that you could fill in your respective industry. I know for me, it was because of my personal challenges with exercise. And I state it all the time because I don't think people understand. Like, I really don't like exercise. It's painful. But as with anything that you have to cross over, the obstacle itself is an opportunity for learning and growth beyond what most people will see. And my why is because I want more people to be able to realize that, like, that's what you truly have to get to, Zach, as we talk about people picking up adaptations, or Devin, when people get stale on a brand or things like that. It's what has that done to actually resonate with the customer or the other person on the other end deep enough for them to realize it's an experience that they have to keep going on to. And we're talking about the specifics of the word experience, what we do. Me and Zach have talked about it, and specifically, I know with spirits, it's a really big thing, right? Like, people can go get drinks anywhere. People can go online and get some movement help or fitness routine anywhere. But as with Starbucks being the case, people aren't necessarily paying only for the beans at Starbucks. They're paying for the experience of having their name called, of feeling like a place where it's cool, they can hang out, they can sit there. Dev, I know specifically in your industry, this is really difficult. Talk to me about what creating that experience means for you, I guess, even in the cocktail side of it and now with your wine brand.
The experience is everything. In New York City, there's it's the bar scene is very competitive, right? New York City, London, and Singapore are the benchmarks for the bar world as far as cocktail bars. So all the best bars are usually there. And everybody wants to be the best. So, and everyone's pulling from the same consumer group. It's a big group, but everyone's pulling from the same group. So what's making, but it's just drinks at the end of the day, right? Somebody's drinks might be better, but people come for the experience that you give them. And that is something I've learned over the years, that, people come for the person who's serving the drinks outside of the drinks. Even sometimes they just want to just talk to you, sometimes they want to hear the music that you're playing because you play good music at the bar and stuff like that, or just how you make them feel. And that was more learning the human aspect of working hospitality, of like, how do you make people feel when they come to your establishment? Do they feel welcome? Do they feel safe? Do they have a good time? Like, are you making them, feel like, are they a regular? Are you making them feel like a regular? Their order already, and they're bragging to their friends like, yo, they know me here. Like, you make them feel special. Like, that's what bring people back and back to your bar as far as cocktails. What we were looking to start with Michale Lavelle, we saw opportunity in the wine industry. There's a big gap of the consumer of the Black consumer of wine, which is huge. But then when you look on to the actual production side of winemakers or wine-owned brands, Black-owned brands, there's not a lot. So we wanted to start something. We wanted to start a brand that was approachable, that was delicious, and something that can exude kind of like elegance and luxury. Something that, we wanted, have everyone has their own idea of like a luxury. So we wanted to bring that to your home, but something that's not that's too far off, that we don't want to be like super French. We don't want to be super kind of like pretentious. Like we're like, yo, we want you to drink this like as often as possible, but we want to make it as cool as shit, you know? So, and we want to make it as delicious as possible as well. So, you know, that's kind of where I came in as far as the taste. I mean, I have two other partners, Aaron, he's definitely like kind of more the design, the aesthetics, and then Terrence, who's more so the marketing guru and kind of more so the campaign and stuff like that. So we were just kind of three-headed, attacked it, and, you know, put our brains together and kind of came together like Voltron. So
nice. Zach, I'm definitely going to use this to alley-oop over to you because as we've discussed a lot, even in the industry, the more I've learned, the less I can say. Ironically, I have a trust of a lot of practitioners. You guys are one of the physical therapists that I speak ridiculously highly of. I've sent you a bunch of my clients, and a lot of it is because I know your approach isn't doing it for the sake of the fact that the consumer's there. You know you're going to have people getting hurt. As you said earlier in your intro, it really is about creating an experience of making that person better and allowing them to move on with their life versus be stagnated or held back by it. Talk about it there, because you guys have quite the experience. I mean, even for me walking across the hall every once in a while, I'm like, those dudes seem like they personally know each and every person that walks in that door, and they're just a bunch of friends at this point.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I think and I think a lot of it has to come back to, like you mentioned, start with your why, right? I think it's remembering back when, like, hey, why did I actually start this thing in the first place? What inspired me to go this entrepreneurial route and take the risk and the stress that comes with it and all those things? You're obviously doing it for some reason beyond just, hey, I want to make money, or I think I can do something maybe a little bit better. And Devin, actually, you made some really good points where you were talking about how the sort of the transformation you try to make in regards to the experience that you provide, way beyond just the product that you're selling. And I think for us, it's really understanding that people don't care how much you know, at least in our industry. They just don't, unless they know how much you care. It sounds cheesy and cliche, but that's it, because at the end of the day, people want to work with people that they know, that they like, and that they trust. And if they don't, no matter how smart you are, if they don't feel that and they don't truly know that, you're never going to get the opportunity to show what you know anyway. So I think, and we make sure that we do that from the very start, because if our mission is to truly help these people regain this confidence that they lose from pain and injury and all these things, we're never going to have that opportunity if they're not confident in us. And that starts from the moment that they call the office. What's the experience that they have? How does the person answer the phone? Are they happy to chat with them? Are they, like a lot of medical offices just seem like annoyed to pick up the phone when they show up the first time for their appointment? Does the person know their name, or are they just reading it off a clipboard and telling them to sign in without picking their head up off the computer? To every single session from there on out, like, are we doing everything we can to ultimately help the person in front of us, understanding that the business side will take care of itself? The people just feel ultimately taken care of, because that's what we want at the end of the day anyways. So I think that's honestly, from a business standpoint, for I think any business, I think that's one of the number one things is just, what is the experience this person's having interacting with your product, your brand, whether you're in person or not. Because we make decisions based on emotions anyways. It was a mentor of mine was basically pointed out a few car commercials, and I remember he pointed out like the overarching theme to all of them. Like, none of them talked about the horsepower really in the car. They didn't talk about the leather seats or the cup holders or any of the stuff. It was all tying to emotions and how the person feels driving it. And that ultimately is why they make any decision. How do they feel? Why am I wearing the sweatshirts? Maybe because of how I feel when I put it on. I don't know. It's nothing to do with really the cloth that's involved, if you will. So I think it's a great point. It's something I wish more people in our industry did more of.
Right. I mean, but then you said that's what separates you guys. You guys both bring up a very, very good point, because I am 100% the person who's like, how does it make me feel? I mean, with food, right? Like, I could care less how much it costs as long as the experience felt great. Wine is actually, I've learned, when you're at home by yourself, as I say it on my like Sex and the City vibe, like drinking my different wines with my lobster pastas. I'm like, yo, actually this does matter. Like
Yo,
actually
it's
the
a vibe.
experience from sip to sip is a vibe that I can curate based off that feeling. And Zach, to your point, it's very true. I mean, even like I said, as a professional in kind of this field, I always think to myself like, damn, I get finished talking to Zach, I feel smarter. Like somehow he made me feel like I'm the best trainer this dude's ever met in his life. And I just know that's not true, but it doesn't matter because you're right.
Don't sell yourself short, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. But then what that does though, you're right, is that transcends to the next person, right? So when someone talks to me about something that I know for a fact I could probably solve on some scale, it's actually not even a thought for me to be like, but I got to introduce you to this guy, Zach, over here, because like the experience of that first conversation is going to make you feel like, you know what, even though you didn't try out for the major leagues, why wouldn't you, right? Let's just fix your shoulder and just go ahead and throw some pitches. Dev, you guys, like you said, your market is extremely, extremely crowded. So as time has gone on, especially like Zach said, through COVID and that pivot and adjustment has had to happen, how have you guys gone about that? Because everyone's had to find a way to kind of move to where the customers are, obviously, which is online and at home. And you guys have taken a pretty interesting approach. I've seen the Tiki and Dev online thing. Go ahead and describe that for me and kind of what inspired you to take that route.
Yeah, so that was cool. That was definitely a big pivot. So that was more so in my consulting company. We before COVID, we were setting up to do a party with or an activation with Bacardi for about 6 to 7 cities. It was going to be kind of like a tour thing. It was going to be all summer. And it was supposed to be this big thing. I'm super excited. And then COVID happened. So we're like, oh shit. Okay. So then, we were trying to figure out, the brand still wanted to work with us. They're like, hey, do you guys have any ideas? I was like, well, we can, if you want, we can like set up like a virtual thing. And then that ended up turning into creating an e-commerce leg for them. So creating cocktail kits and shooting like cocktail demos. So like when the person gets the kit, they'll scan the QR code and a video pops up of me making the cocktail and teaching you how to make it. So they were like, oh, cool. We don't have anything like that. So it was just more so like thinking outside the box. Like what else can I provide as a service that's still in the same lines? Because we want to still keep that same relationship. So then when, hopefully when things get better, when we're able to travel, when we're able to throw in-person events, we still have the relationship. We can still do that.
I think a lot of that goes back to what you were saying, though. Like that QR code thing is an experience, right?
Yeah.
Like now I'm not just watching someone on YouTube. It feels personal.
Yeah.
It's like my personal lesson because it came with a box that I ordered to make my way. Like that's, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And then you're teaching someone how to make it, and then they know how to make it. So
yeah,
then,
yeah.
You have all and then the kit comes with all the ingredients that you need to make the cocktails. So then you can make it a couple, you can make it for some friends or something, Nice. It kind of, it was an experience, trying to create an experience out of a bad experience. We can't, a lot of people are not comfortable going out to go out to bars and stuff like that if they're in a place that is open. So, but people still want to enjoy things that we always want to enjoy. We want to enjoy cocktails, want to enjoy a nice dinner, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, how do we bring that to people's homes that makes it, responsible and safe, but still also fun? So, yeah, then that just got accompanied with a Zoom event and then just showcasing some DJs, showing some creative, some love, and yeah.
That was great. Zach, definitely want to talk to you about it because, like we said, so much of what we do is in person. You held a Zoom discussion amongst a couple of professionals, just kind of trying to create a little brain trust group and thinking outside the box, which I really appreciated you inviting me to. But yeah, talk about it for the same as you, because again, that in-person industry and that transition, one, it highlights the importance of being flexible and being fluid in the way you move through things. And like you said, thinking of problems as they come up because there wasn't a problem like this before for any of us. Talk to me a little bit about how you guys went about that process and what was your mindset there?
Yeah, I mean, it's, no lie, of course. I mean, as an in-person industry, I mean, COVID was a beast, man. Still is, especially now as we're seeing things spike during the holiday season. But I think ultimately when anything like unforeseen, which obviously doesn't happen too often, happens, it's just thinking in terms of what are the challenges, the fears, the worries that my audience is feeling right now. What are they experiencing? And I know for us, I was like, okay, they're still being pain and injury. That doesn't go away because there's a pandemic. But they're worried about coming in. They don't want to contract this thing. Back in March and April, we didn't really know anything about it. So there's the fear of the unknown. And so it's just trying to find solutions to what these challenges are. And a big thing that we did was we reached out to our our VIP clients, if you will, and just said, hey, how are you feeling? How would you feel about coming back during these times if you had an issue that you really needed help with? And listen to what they were sharing, listen to the words they used, especially that emotional language. And so really it was a lot of confusion, we realized, and so what we tried to do is give a lot of clarity to our audience to try to reduce their anxiety as much as possible. So can we reach out to them personally as much as possible, via checking in via phone or email or whatever the case is, to answer their questions, hold some space for them and say, okay, and be able to present solutions to what their objections might be. So if they're worried that maybe we're not being as safe as possible, can we clearly explain to them exactly what we're doing, from whether it be temperature checks to our mask rules to how we're staggering schedules to staff getting tested constantly, all these things. And then have another solution available too, and being able to say, hey, well, if appropriate, we have a virtual option that can actually have great results, and being able to realize that the challenging situation we're in, and maybe give them a free opportunity to try out something that they never really thought of. Because of course there's going to be some hey, how can virtual even help me? I'm not seeing you in person. And then let them experience it. And then it's on us to really prove it that we can make this thing work. So that was a big part of how we had to roll with this challenge. But the funny thing is, it really, what I realized was, Brandon, you saw this, is I doubled down essentially on my communication with people. I realized I need to be in contact with them, not less, but more, to be that reassuring voice, to be that person that was there for others, and say, okay, where is the opportunity during all of this? And say, okay, I mean, no question about it. It's terrible, but the opportunity is, it gives you a chance to show what you're all about and how you really want to help people when all this stuff's going on. So that's why, Brandon, you mentioned getting together in a sort of a mini mastermind group of other professionals in the area. Just say, hey, can we all come together and support one another? Is that an opportunity to be there for other people?
Right.
And knowing that by doing that, you're just doing the right thing. And also, if you want that to be how people, you want that to reflect well, of course, on you, because ideally your business should grow because you're just trying to help people. So that was a little bit of where the opportunity was here. But I think the biggest thing is just got to listen to your people and try to put yourself in their place emotionally.
Right. I think that was one of the interesting things I heard both of you guys really talk about, was cultivating the human aspect and interaction with the customer base as much as possible, and realizing that if you create more of a community, then you kind of self-sustain, like you were saying, right? That people come to certain bars because they hear certain music, or that guy makes that drink that specific way that I like, or the ambiance here, everyone says what's up. And kind of building off that. It's what a lot I learned specifically from you, and also from seeing the virtual party thing kind of develop out of that, and creating those connections so people realize it's much more than just a product or service. It's trying to become a part of their lives in a way that ties you into their normal operating, that I think was really huge. And this time I realized, like you were saying, whether it's in the spirits and cocktail arena or in the physical therapy where I have to actually give you some information, it's really become how much do you speak to that person versus the customer, right? Separating someone from just being a customer and making them just a person who's involved with you is a huge difference, where the virtual party comes in, right? If I learn how to do the cocktail mixing and I know I'm going to be able to hear some music that goes along with that, I'm much more likely to stay in tune with everything that brand offers. Same thing with you, Zach, right? I know for a fact I have people who are healthy but they realize to continue to stay healthy, they should get in front of it. And so they want to consult with me and Zach, or always go back and forth and say, this feels good, but I'm always going to pay attention to these things. Now, just in closing, guys, is there anything else that you guys want to talk about? Any things coming up, any projects you want to let us know about, or any other points that you guys want to make? I don't. I'm going online, Zach. I've chose to, one thing I will say that I respect about both of you guys, actually, real quick. I thought about it, is in the online marketplace now where everything exists, I realize the competition is huge and it's very high, and people tend to adjust either the value of their service or the type of service they get. Do you guys believe more in volume or in quality being the thing to chase? Obviously, it's different in different arenas and in different genres. I say that because, you know, I work with people who really want to invest in their health. I give them incredible amounts of quality for how much they pay, but I also realize that there is something to the value, right? Like, I don't need 5,000 clients paying me $30 because I want to naturally put in more effort than that into what I'm offering them, which means it then raises the value of it. And my favorite quote to myself is, Ferrari never cares how many F-150s are sold. So it's like, how do you guys go about trying to balance that? Let's start with you, Dev, just because in the spirits and section, like I said, people can go get drinks and buy liquor anywhere. Trying to get them on board with your brand and your ideology must be a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, so I think I'll speak to more so the wine brand because we're really young. We started in June, and it kind of was serendipitous because we started off as an online direct-to-consumer, and this was like in the middle of lockdown. Or just after, just after it. But just as like an ethos, like our marketing is not very heavy. It's more so word of mouth marketing. We've really just been more so we want to deliver a quality product. We're not trying to get rich off selling 1 million bottles like right away. We want to make sure we're putting out a great product that people will keep coming back to. Right. Not so just something to just try once and be like, oh, cool, that was cool. I just wanted to, check out the homie, but whatever. But it's something like, man, this is really good. I need more of this because it's delicious. And like, I could see the passion that they put behind figuring out what kind of grapes picking out the wine and stuff like that. And how they explain it and how they're marketing it. And we're really just we're just taking it step by step and rather try to go for super wholesale. And we're really just more so trying to connect with different people and introduce the wine category for people that are not necessarily as confident as in wine. There's a lot of people that love wine, but they're not confident of speaking about it. Right. So like, okay, cool. Like, we're just the little descriptors we put on the back of the bottle. It just makes it kind of easy to even describe the wine. This is perfect for a summer day picnic. It's bright fruit strawberries with a clean, dry finish. And sometimes when you get into the wine world, there's a lot of like mumbo jumbo as far as like, oh, it tastes like wet rocks and blah blah blah. It's just all whatever. This is what I've learned from being a sommelier. That stuff doesn't matter. It's really wine is very personal. Everybody gets something different from each wine. Certain people like Malbecs or Cabernets because that's just what they like. And I like to think about wine as a grocery. Everybody should be having it with your food because, in France and Italy, it's always going to be wine for dinner. Like, it's just figuring out which one, So not making it such a special occasion thing, making sure it's kind of I'm having wine tonight. What am I having? Then you start getting the pairings and stuff like that. So trying to introduce that world to the broader audience. And a lot of more people like, man, I didn't know I like rosé, but I tried it and this is delicious. So I'm gonna try some more. Like, cool. That's like the stories I love to hear. Or they're like, man, I really don't like wine, but I'm gonna try it. And they're like, hey, this is actually pretty good. I've got a lot of dudes drinking rosé, and I'm like, okay, cool. Which is not, it's usually marketed towards women. Like, nah, man, it's like rosé is delicious. Everybody should be drinking it. So more so focusing on delivering a quality product and introducing it to new groups, and then that will expand our reach naturally.
Nice. I actually, just to piggyback, really like something you were pointing to, as in it starts to get ingrained into that person's life. Like I always try to really point out to any of my clients when they tell me how they chose this or didn't choose this, or they did this at home by themselves on the weekend because we couldn't meet up. And then you realize like, okay, this actually is starting to become part of who that person is. And you're right. I think that's better marketing than you could ever hope for, because then that person starts to take that message and speak it out to other people around them, or when they get those compliments. Same with you, Zach, you know what I mean? Like either I hear about it, or like you were saying, it's that idea of creating that connection with the person, especially when we had that discussion with other professionals about reaching out, like you said, to the VIPs and then letting them become a little bit of your marketing group. Is that how you guys have worked with it as well?
Yeah, to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And piggybacking something Devin said, I think what was smart was when Devin, you're talking about like, on each bottle, sort of having, being able to give that little summary to your audience as to what the experience is, as to what little information about the wine. I think is cool, because it's so clear to me as to what makes you different and what you're trying to do. You're trying to deliver like an experience to somebody, and you're delivering some emotions, in all honesty. Like, because if there's somebody like me who maybe doesn't know a lot about wine, and I might feel like an idiot if I'm around like a bunch of people who do, hey, this may give me that confidence to be able to speak a little more openly about things. And I think with a lot of this, I mean, Brandon, I loved your quote about the F-150 versus Ferrari.
Yeah.
I thought that was really smart.
Right.
In that, there's nothing wrong, I think, with going for big volume and maybe the cheaper option, if you will. It's fine. People got to have that choice too. But I think that's why it's so important to be clear in your vision. And I mean, I think what and who you are, why you started, what you're trying to do, and who you're trying to help, most importantly.
Yeah.
Because I think where a lot of companies and entrepreneurs fall off course a little bit is where they just kind of they forget that, and they kind of veer a little bit, where if you're trying to, like, Ferrari's not going to have a Black Friday sale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it wouldn't be them if it was, right? And so, I think that, and I think that's important for all of us to keep in mind, because really sometimes the best thing to know who you're not right for, as well as who you are right for, because you can't please everybody. And because if you do, you're not pleasing anyone.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, Devin, if you have anything to add, feel free to.
I think that's it, man.
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
this is a great discussion.
Yeah. I'm glad I got you guys together.
I will say, because I've been following your blog and some of your workouts, and I just started my like fitness journey back up. I was like in shape during the summer, and I took a couple months off. And I'm like, all right, I gotta get back in.
Right.
And just your thought process of working out is like kind of how I like to work out. I like to get in and get out,
right,
and try to do things that like more functional exercises that kind of work out everything. And I love like farmers walks and like tire flips and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But no, like I love the way how you present on your blog. I'm like, yo, this is really dope. I wish I would have been able to see this like earlier on when I first started trying to work out, because I was tired.
I'm super glad to hear that, specifically because 95% of the reason I even got into this is remembering how it was presented to me when I was younger and how much it just didn't click.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, but what if I don't want to lift 500 pounds, bro? Like that's not on my list of goals. Like what if I just want to be in shape and not feel pain?
Yeah.
And the universe works in mysterious ways, because I mean, like, I said, we've known of each other, been acquaintances for years and years when we were way younger. And then, like I said, when I picked up and saw your Insta again, I was like, oh, snap, bro's taking this whole thing like way further than I thought. And then like happening to come into Training Ground and get the meeting with Zach, because like I said, Zach's one of those people that like every time I have a conversation with this dude, somehow I leave feeling smarter. And I'm like, wow, that's very unique. But the whole point of it, as you were saying, is speaking to people who have a specific why for what they want to do and have a reason for it. And it doesn't have any ownership to one arena or one goal. It's really a mindset that I saw shared between a lot of different people I've come across. And I'm really glad you guys were both able to come on and join me. Dev, that was the greatest compliment I've ever gotten. I love when people say like, yo, I saw that and I wanted to try it. And I'm like, you know, it's funny. I know everyone I know is trying it and just not telling me until something goes good. Like that's what happens. Like people are like, I saw my friend on the street and he was like, yo, B, man, I tried that home workout. I was like, bro, you didn't want to tell. Like, you have my phone number. You can just text me. He's like, yeah, man, thanks for doing that. I'm like, yeah, thank me out loud next time. But you guys, this was a great discussion. I'm definitely going to use a lot of quotables for this. Dev, I'm definitely going to try to get a bottle of that wine.
Yeah, I got one coming for you.
Zach, when I get back in better shape, like Devin was saying, I'll come and get a workout in with you. I see them very few, but they are very serious. Like I know what I should and shouldn't do. So you guys, thank you so much for joining me. This is episode 7. I will see you another time.
All right, y'all.
Have a good one. Peace.